schools are in new locations, and actually we're going to have 2 schools in Southern Pines, 2 elementary schools in Southern Pines. What this does is allows us to take a larger look at all of Moore County and make sure that we have taken the time to look at utilization for each of these schools and make sure that when these schools open, they open with lines that will utilize the space that we have to the best of our ability. The other thing that we're looking at is in the northern part of our county, there are numerous, we have schools up in the northern part of the county, for those of you who haven't driven up there, in the Robbins area, and Westmore and High Falls. And some of those schools are showing a few decline in seats. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that we use all of our schools appropriately and efficiently, make the best use of taxpayer dollars. So we're also looking at how to, where it's possible, where it makes sense, where we can move some students up north. That is why we're taking a look at a big picture redistricting. I don't think any of us would have wanted to start off on this large task, but I think it's an important task. It is one that allows us to make the most efficient use of each of our schools. It makes efficient use of taxpayer dollars. So it's really important that we take a look at redistricting. How many of you have been here for 10 years or less? Can you raise your hand? How many of you have been here for 20 years? Between 10 and 20. How many of you have been here for 30 years? How many of you remember the last time we looked at redistricting? There's a few. So the last time we did that, we opened 2 new schools 10 years ago, Cranes Creek and West Pine Elementary. Before that, the last time we looked at our districts were when the middle schools opened up, and that was 20 years ago. So it is about time for us to take a look. Our population has changed. My family and I have been here for 14 years, so I know and I have seen this change. I keep hoping for a target, but it doesn't happen, even with all the younger folks in this community. But we need to look at change in our school districts as well, so that's why we're doing this. The Board of Education directed staff to come up with a process, and so the fact that you're here today means that you're participating in this process. We wanted it to be one where individuals could provide their input on what they thought about the current drafts of the redistricting process. It is an 8-month process. We're close to halfway through. It is a marathon, not a race, and we have a lot more work to do, and it includes getting input from you all tonight. When you get a chance to take a look at the maps up close and personal and to see how it impacts you. It also includes an online feedback portal for those that who are not able to be here tonight. And it also, we have an opportunity for a smaller advisory group to be meeting, and they have been meeting many times to advise us on this process and give us some input. So these are representatives from all the schools. So there's a lot of effort in ensuring that we have opportunities for public input. So thank you for being here today. The board also came up with what the guiding principles were, and you'll hear more about those today. And those are ones that we keep in mind for each of these drafts. How does it impact our goals and our guiding principles? And as you'll see, sometimes the guiding principles are easy to achieve, and sometimes they're in conflict with one another. And that's where you'll see some of that this evening. And there will be an end at some point. So October is when we're looking at ending. So tonight I really encourage you to take the time, spend some time in the back with the maps when it's time to do that. You'll get a brief presentation in advance. The board got a longer presentation last night that you can all look at online if you get a chance. You'll get a brief version of that tonight. You have an opportunity to go back there in the middle and spend some concentrated time looking at the maps and really studying them. And it's also an opportunity for you to document your questions and your comments that you have for us. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Locklear. And I guess I'll just say one more thing. Change is hard, and I get that. And in a community like ours that is growing, change is not always easy. And I think if we consider how we approach change and just do the analysis and the study for ourselves and for our family, and also make sure that we talk to our children about change and how we approach that. I think all through life we'll always go through periods of time where we're going to be confronted with change, and I hope that we can look at that together and make some understanding that the change is not easy, but sometimes we have to move forward with it. And with that, I'll ask Dr. Lockett.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I appreciate those introductory comments. I'm Tim Locklear, Chief Officer for Academics and Student Support Services, and again, I want to thank you for being here tonight and being engaged in the process. And we want to jump right to that as briskly as we can. But first, I want to make some quick introductions. I want to introduce our other members of the board that are with us tonight. We have Mr. Ed Dennison there on the bleachers, Ms. Pam Thompson there on the bleachers, Ms. Codwell, Stacey Codwell on the bleachers, Mr. Bruce Cunningham, Dr. Wells Brown, who's also on the bleachers, and I don't think I've missed anyone. I think that's all members of the board who are with us this evening. I also want to introduce our principals who are with us this evening, because those are also folks who've been really engaged in this process and may be able to help answer questions as we break out for the debate tonight. Principals, if you would stand up, and I'll quickly introduce you. You're the rock stars in the group tonight, so we definitely want to introduce you. We've got Ashley Ciccone, Pinehurst Elementary Principal, Sean Kosicki, West End Elementary Principal. We have Dante Poole, Aberdeen Elementary, Al Jackson, Aberdeen Primary here. We have two assistant principals from West Pine Middle who work tonight as well. We have Tanya Wagner, Southern Pines Primary, Dr. Dale Bowie, Southern Pines Elementary. And did I miss anyone? Oh, there we go. Marcy Cooper, our host principal. So thank you, Ms. Cooper, for hosting us this evening. And lastly, if you served on the advisory committee that Ms. Wildmeadow referenced, if you would just stand up quickly so we can recognize and appreciate you. So we've got some advisory committee members. So let's stick in the hands for all this. Thank you for being part of that. So we're going to jump right into going over to ground rules. We'll introduce the information. I'm going to hand it right off to our partners who are working with us, the emeritus consultants, Mr. Michael Miller and Laura Evans. Turn it over to them in just a second. They will present the drafted data table for breakout to look over the maps. Where we're grouped to respond to the question and comment cards that you have with you, so you have the opportunity to the presentation, to write comments, to write questions there. When we break out, do the same. And we'll try to go through as many of those and respond to as many of those in the last half hour or so of our agenda before we adjourn at 7:45. Talk about ground rules. Really, Chair Wildmeadow did a great job of introducing all this. I'm very quick to get this, but our goal tonight is to collect as much information as possible. And all of this information we've been collecting through our online portal, through the comment cards, through emails, through letters, we are reviewing as a staff. Our advisory committee is seeing that information, and we're gleaning what bubbles through to continue to look at what we can look at to refine these drafts. We recognize that this is a work in progress. It's a marathon, as Walla Miller noted. We're about halfway through that. We've got several months before we come to completion, and a lot of opportunity for community and public input throughout that process. We know that this is something that our board has said that we're going to work through. We've got great guiding principles to guide staff and to guide us through that process, and we're working through creating this student assignment plan for our district. We want to make sure that as we're back in the back and as we're listening and talking, that we're listening to each other, we're hearing all viewpoints and we're gathering that. We want to make sure that we're not interrupting each other, being respectful and civil to each other as we work through the process. So we always want to have those type of ground rules in this type of process. A lot of opportunities to get information, not just tonight. We've got our website that's got all of the presentations, all of the maps, including the presentation last night from the board. Tonight's presentation as well as video will be there for you to take a look at if you want to see that as well. So all that information is on that link. We've got a frequently asked questions website that's being developed from common questions that's bubbling to the top, and we know we'll have some additional FAQs we'll be adding after this evening. And then lastly, if you're curious about what individual schools are doing, a little more about those schools, how they're working to continue to improve their schools, as you might be seeing your child at a different school in the future. School improvement plans are a great place to go to see what is that school working on to continue to improve and get better. So that's there always on our website as well. Mention the online portal, mention the letters and emails. We've got over 200 comments on our online portal. Since we opened that up through this process, we have almost 100 emails and letters on that online portal through this process. Those all have been shared for our advisory committee. You see some training questions and comments. Laura's going to hit on some of those in her presentation as well. common themes that we've got through this process. Some questions we won't be able to individually respond to or put on our FAQs, but all of that is being shared with our staff and with our advisory committee as we work through this process. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Laura and Mike so we can begin to share this brief presentation and get you back to looking at those maps and give us feedback. Laura?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Walker. Good to be back with you all. A long time has passed since we saw you last. As you can see, I had a very freak accident. We've heard about a widowmaker after a storm and 3 branches fell. A 3 branch actually did fall on me and cracked the vertebrae and crushed the disc. So I am thankful to be alive, good doctors, good emergency room people, good rescue squad people, and I'm very happy to be back with y'all. As I always say, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for the work you do in the schools. You guys are just great. All right. How many of you came last time? Look at there. You are really great coming twice. So thank you so much. I'm going to run through the presentation that we gave to the board yesterday. I'm sure you watched it probably when you were sitting in the carpool line, I imagine. Or looked at it online last night. So I'm going to go through it quickly because the main purpose of the meeting is for you guys to go to the back, get into the maps, we'll mingle with you and to talk to us individually and ask questions and that kind of thing. So tonight we're going to review the guiding principles because that is our lens that we view every proposed move through. Does it follow the guiding principles that the board developed? We're going to briefly go back through the process, although we did that last time. We're going to give you the comments, just the gist of the comments we've received since last we were together. There was a lot of concerns about transportation that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what we're calling allowable transfers. Lots of parents have asked, how will the transfer process work? Or is there an opportunity for my child to stay at a certain school or go to a certain school? So we're going to get some information about that tonight. We're going to review the implementation timeline. This is a multi-year assignment plan, so the changes will take effect over time. Okay, it's a little bit confusing to me, so I know it's probably confusing to you too. So we're going to try to detail that out with you tonight. And then we'll look at the data tables and we'll look at the maps, and then we're going to set you free to go toward the back. The guiding principles the board developed last year and reaffirmed this year. 4 big areas: balance. Number 1, balanced utilization. Opening 4 new schools, increased seats. We have crowded schools today and under-enrolled schools today. Let's do our best to balance utilization. That's a big goal. We also want to balance demographics. But you're going to see it in the data tonight that we're not doing a good job on that. That's a really difficult task to balance demographics based on housing patterns. But we've done a really good job balancing utilization. We're going to talk about efficiency. After the last draft won, efficiency became a huge talking point. How long of a bus ride is my child going to be on? Okay? And is it even possible to get through that traffic circle in Pinehurst in a reasonable amount of time to get to the school? So a lot of traffic concerns bubble to the top. Planning, we want to make sure you understand tonight that not only are we balancing utilization, but we're planning for growth. There's areas of this county that are growing and projected to grow. And when those new families come with their children, we don't want them to make the schools overcrowded. We want to make sure we have room for them before they get here. Okay? So we're going to talk about that. And then community. We are trying to be as open and transparent as we can possibly be. We're bringing you every draft. We've got a great big advisory group that's looking at everything consisting of parents and school staff and principals. We're trying our best to be as transparent as we can be. This is draft 2. It is not the end. There is a long gap between draft 2 and draft 3 because we're going to do a big transportation study on that. Plus, it's the summer months. And I don't think you really want to be bothered with it over the summer. Okay?
I think it is important to be bothered with over the summer.
Oh, true, but we do need the time. We do need the time for the transportation study. All right, now, I've told you this before. Let me see if These points up here, some of the guiding principles may overlap, some may conflict, some may not be realized, okay? And actually, we're going to see more of those 2 points tonight, where guiding principles are conflicting with each other, and some of these guiding principles will not be realized to the full extent that we wanted, okay? All right, our desired outcome, we've got the new schools. Obviously, that's an outcome. Assign children to new schools. Unfinished business from last year that has to do with McKees Creek. We've talked about this before. From the advisory committee, address demographics and balance to the extent possible across all of our schools. And, I said all that in 1 second. The process, we started with numerics, generating some possible scenarios. Remember, the first one was based totally on utilization. It would produce some really nice data, but not really good maps. Had a lot of messed up feeder patterns. We worked on that with feeder patterns. We brought that out to you as draft 1. Staff reviewed it. I'm sorry. Staff reviewed it. The advisory committee reviewed it. You guys reviewed it, and you gave us feedback, and so we're here tonight with draft 2. And we're going to do the same thing with draft 2. We'll go around the circle again and come back then with draft 3. These are the comments we heard. Not specifically all the comments, although we've gone through all the online, we've gone through all the comments from the last meetings. We've been through it all, but this is just kind of just an overview. Concerned about buses, longer bus drives, concerned about split feeder patterns, concerned about traffic congestion, concerned about split neighborhoods, what else we got here? Split communities, concerned about the implementation timeline. When is my child going to be changing schools? We're going to go over that tonight. Address as much as possible allowing kids to start at a new school early. For example, if you have a rising 6th grader, so they don't stay at, maybe they're at Southern Pines this year, but they're going to be assigned to Cranes Creek next year, could they go to Cranes Creek ahead so they don't have to change schools? So we're going to talk about that tonight. Continue to look at balancing utilization and demographics, questions about the transfer policy, and this is a big one, concern regarding school change impact on military families. That came out at every meeting, and it was online. So you do have the unique, what I say is unique to Moore County, that you have a large military population, their duty stations change, and so now we're throwing one more thing into that family dynamic about changing their schools. And that's hard on the family and hard on the children. So we'll talk about that some tonight too. The transportation concerns, specifically congestion and long travel times, we think we've addressed a lot of this here in draft 2. But what's happening when you start addressing transportation, that's when you get a little bit out of whack on the other guiding principles. They start to conflict. And then finally, as I just said, Moore County Schools is pursuing a traffic study, and that's going to take time, and that'll happen over the summer. And so anything that comes out of that traffic study, that will generate changes for draft 3. Okay. Comparing draft 1 to draft 2, draft 1 focused on utilization and feeder patterns. Draft 2 now, we've got a big focus on traffic congestion and student travel times while still looking at utilization issues and considering feeder patterns. All right, let's talk about allowable transfers. Allowable transfers. 2 kinds, proactive transfers and rising grade transfers. We think these are family friendly. If you have a student in elementary school and they're going to be assigned to a new elementary school 2 years from now, you can, or we're recommending that you can put in a transfer request so that student can attend their new school early. That's okay. Same for middle school and same for high school. If you want to get a jump on that, you can. That 1 year, though, when there'll be a transfer student, you would have to provide your own transportation because we already don't have enough buses for that. Okay? Rising grade transfers. Many of you have children who will be going into the 5th grade, the 8th grade, or 11th and 12th grade when this school change is taking place. And that's hard, to have to change your last year at that level. So we're saying that's an allowable transfer. If you put in that request, we'll approve that request. I spent most of my career at the high school level, and we do 11th and 12th graders in high school because there's nothing like school spirit for a high school student. Once they're in there, it is their school, you know. So 11th and 12th grade can stay if you want to. That would be an allowable transfer. So we felt like these were both peer-friendly, student-friendly, okay? The timeline for implementation, Mike's going to be implemented.
So as Laura mentioned, this plan takes place over multiple years. As you know, next fall, August of 2019, Queens Creek is opening. That's only impacting Area 1, so there are no impacts to other areas at that point. But moving to the following year, in 2020, that's when the new Aberdeen area school and the new Southern Pines area elementary schools are scheduled to open. Pinehurst will open in August of 2021. So in 2020, the way this will wash out is mostly the changes that you've seen in draft 1 or draft 2 and what's finally going to be approved by the board in October. Those kinds of changes will happen in August of 2020. Changes involving the completion of the Keys Creek. It borders Southern Pines Elementary, so we'll be able to fill that area out to its full extent. And there's some high school changes in Northmore also, and you'll see those on the map. So we plan that for August of 2020. The fact that Pinehurst opens a year later means that the changes that are connected to Pinehurst, Southern Pines is adjacent to Pinehurst, Aberdeen is adjacent to Pinehurst, West Pine is adjacent to Pinehurst. So those changes that involve Pinehurst have to be postponed until Pinehurst opens. We need to know exactly how the attendance area for Pinehurst is before we can implement those changes for the schools that are adjacent to it. So at that point, the rest of the changes will happen based on that Pinehurst opening in 2021. There is a change in the Bass, Lakeview, and Cameron boundaries at that point too, because we're adding new capacity to Cameron to try to provide more relief to the growing schools that we see, the growing school that we see in Bass Lakeview. So that's how this is going to work out for the next 2 years. And Laura, I think you're up again. Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at the data that goes in draft 2. Just a little review. The top set of data is the current.
Can't see that.
I know you can't. I know you can't. I just want to explain what you've got here. The top set of data is the current situation. The middle set of data is draft 1, and the bottom set of data is the draft 2 data. So I'm just going to call out a couple of points. I know you can't see it, but a couple of points about the data. From the current to draft 2, to the draft 1 and draft 2, we've made very little progress in balancing minority or proficiency. Negligible changes at all. Where we made the most progress is right down here through the utilization and balancing utilization. We went from a 56-point range on our schools, a high of 117% and a low of 62%, to, in draft 2, a 27-point range, a high of 97% and a low of 70%. So that's where we've made the most progress. In draft 2, we've worked very hard to focus on 4 areas in the county where we are anticipating high growth. That would be Aberdeen, West Pines, Sand Hills, 5 areas, McNeese Creek, and Bass Lakeview. We worked hard to make sure by 2022 that their utilizations were still 70% range, somewhere in the 70s, so that there was plenty of room for that growth to come. The other schools, besides the 5 I just called out, we did our best to balance their utilization, so all of the school buildings are being utilized effectively. We worked very hard on transportation issues, transportation bus times, and congestion. There's a lot of changes around the traffic circle in Pinehurst. All right, and John, do we have these data tables on the tables in the back?
Just step down.
Oh, okay, we'll ask that question in a minute. All right, so I know you can't see the data, but let's go ahead and look at the map that goes with that data. Mike's going to go over it with you.
So what we're looking at here is a comparison between draft 1 and draft 2 that you'll see on the table tonight. Elementary school first. There are 7 areas that were impacted in the change from draft 1 to draft 2. Starting with the letter A. Letter A is currently a part of West Pine. And we're continually challenged by overutilization at West End. So in draft 2, and connected to other changes that occur elsewhere, in draft 2, we were able to move that area back to West Pine to help relieve West End. Letter B, small area west of the current Pinehurst boundary, Taylortown is part of that area. We had some comments, we had many comments about splitting the community of Taylortown. And when I looked at the data, actually Taylortown, pieces of it extend close to West Pine Elementary. So the decision was made to back that off and put Taylortown back in West Pine as a whole. In part C, or letter C there, pointing to the lake. This is, once again, in a combination of some of the other changes that are happening on the east side of Pinehurst, but the Pinehurst boundary moved to the west to cover the lake, and you can see it here in the draft 2 piece. That's the movement. And partly because of that movement, letter D, which in draft 1 was assigned to Aberdeen, we got a lot of concern among parents about transportation distance to that school when West Pine was closer. So that went back. We were allowed to move that area back to West Pine because of some of the other changes that happened. Remember, all these changes don't happen in isolation. When you move something, you generally have to fix something else elsewhere in the county. In letter E here, this area, I know you can't see it on this map, but you'll be able to see it back there. We looked at traffic congestion to the east of the traffic circle and made changes between Feed Street, Southern Pines Elementary, and Pinehurst to try to relieve that traffic congestion east of the traffic circle. Those changes, in turn, allowed us to look at this area that in draft 1 was assigned to Southern Pines and moved it back to Aberdeen. That's letter F. And finally, those changes also meant we could look at balancing utilization between Pinehurst Elementary and the new Southern Pines Elementary, and this was one change that occurred to try to make that balance. Currently in Pinehurst, and in draft 2 is in Aberdeen.
Okay, let's look at the middle school data briefly. I know you can't see it, but again, current situation is on top. Draft 1 is in the middle, and now we're at draft 2. Looking at utilization, we made significant improvement in utilization from a range of 65%, a high of 140. To a range of 27, a high of 110. We have trouble in middle schools, folks. We've got some very crowded middle schools, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon, okay? What we did specifically here was really try to match it to the elementary line so that we have clear feeder patterns, and then just bring the utilization together. Right now, the most crowded school in draft 2 would be Southern, but West Pine that is very quickly going to overtake that because of their growth. The map for the middle school,
I was just informed that we're making copies of the data tables to have them available, and remember that the presentation as a whole is available online, so you can zoom into the maps and have all the data tables that you like. So once again, these are the middle school changes from draft 1 to draft 2. This is the most impactful changes at all 3 levels, and it centers around traffic congestion north of the traffic circles moving south. So let's talk about letter A first. In draft 1, you will recall that Carthage moved into West Pine on the elementary level. The advisory committee looked at that and said, well, that's nice, it helps utilization on both sides. Why don't we align the middle school and high school lines? So the change in letter A is alignment of those lines to the new Carthage lines, and you'll also see that same change on the high school level. Letter B is kind of where this all revolves around. Oops. So this area north of the traffic circle that was assigned to Southern in draft 1 is now moved to West Pine in draft 2 to alleviate congestion north and south through the traffic circle. As a result of that movement, there is a related movement down here at the south, also connected to travel distance, and we were able to pull this area, letter C, back into Southern. I should say into Southern. And finally, letter D is there's some transportation concerns inside here, but also trying to clean up some of the feeder patterns associated with McBean's Creek that draft 1 didn't do a great job on. So those 4 areas were the impact areas for middle schools.
and then for high school, as Mike explained, we only made that one little feeder pattern change. You'll see it here on the map, right in here. And that did not significantly change the data from draft 2 to draft 3. So just that one little change so that the elementary, the middle school, and the high school lines all line up right there. Feeder patterns. Our goal was to try to improve feeder patterns. In draft 1, we had 4 elementaries that split to 2 different middle schools, and we had 2 middle schools that split to 2 different high schools. We did not do any harm. We didn't make the situation worse, but we didn't make it much better. We still, in draft 2, we still have 4 elementary schools that feed to 2 different middle schools, and we made a little bit of improvement on the middle school. We have just 1 middle school now that feeds to 2 different high schools. So we wish we could have done more than that, but that was proving to be extremely difficult. Especially when you're looking at utilization and trying to balance, you're looking at traffic patterns, all the things taken together. So that's where we are with feeder patterns. I thought the timeline was coming after this.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, it's time for us to give the breakout and give the opportunity to go in the back where all the maps are. We'll also have copies of the data tables. You can be there as well. As you're looking at the pages, on each table, you'll see a blow-up of the area, of area 3. You'll see the full district map, and you'll also see density maps. For your reference, if you want to compare the changes, we also have draft 1 map taped in the back of the bin. So if you wanted to see what changed here to remind yourself for reference purposes, that is in the back. We'll gather that feedback directly to the online portal. If you have a QR code read on your phone, or go right to the website, or you can write your questions and comments directly on the comment card. Staff will be out and about, principals, Mike and Laura. We have senior staff members here as well. They'll be out and about, be able to answer questions, quickly introduce those. Don Barat, if you'll wave your hand in the back, please. John, Executive Officer for Operations, Dr. Mike Metcalf, Executive Officer for Active Support Services there as well, to help answer questions that I'm out and about, as well as the superintendent. So happy to engage with you and answer any questions that we can. We'll come back together at approximately 7:15 to go through as many of the comment and question cards as we can to address as many of those as we can before we dismiss promptly at 7:45.